Tonight's show and topic of discussion do not necessarily reflect the opinion of Spaced Out Radio, SOR Media, or its hosts. Listener discretion is advised. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we are about to take you higher. Broadcasting from the Rocky Mountains of Colorado to you listening around the world. Welcome to Spaced Out Saturdays on Spaced Out Radio. You can follow Tessa on our Facebook page at Spaced Out Radio, on Twitter at TessaTNT, and you can subscribe to her YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio for our archives. Now broadcasting from our Mile High Radio Clubhouse on Spaced Out Saturdays with your host, Tessa Nicole Thomas.
Good evening, space travelers. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a Rocky Mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 419.9 in colorful Colorado. It is Saturday, August 3rd, Sunday, August 4th for those of you on the East Coast and beyond. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a rockin' week and an awesome day and an even better evening. I am your host, TessaTNT, and I am broadcasting live tonight from beautiful Bayfield, Colorado. We are 150,000 strong nightly on Spaced Out Radio Network, spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live 99.1 FM, WQEE in Noonan, Georgia. Home of The Walking Dead, 107.7 UPRN in New Orleans, Louisiana, 93.7 FM KZFX TuneIn Radio, 1030 AM KDUN Radio, as well as Revolution Radio. Don't forget to head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, where you can peruse the Spaced Out Radio store and read the encounter online dealing with everything strange, paranormal, and odd. So tonight I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight we will be talking to and getting to know Caden and Allisa and Carmen from Southern Ascension Paranormal. Southern Ascension Paranormal is a dynamic duo, Caden and Allisa Mask from Mississippi. The couple has dedicated themselves to helping the public, whether it be hauntings, cleansings, readings, or counseling. With Alyssa's gifts, Caden's resourcefulness, and their new case manager, Carmen, Southern Ascension is able to effectively assist in any situation the universe tosses their way. Hey, Allisa, Carmen, and Caden. Welcome, guys. It's so great to have you tonight.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
We're so honored to be here. Thank you for having us.
So you were telling me a little bit earlier that you guys are dealing with some major weather out there in Mississippi.
Oh, yeah. It's been, with Hurricane Barry that came through week before last, we got about 2 weeks of nonstop rain and all that nastiness that comes with it. And then starting last night and up until today, we just had random storms. So, it's kind of coming down pretty hard tonight.
Well, hopefully that won't impinge on our show this evening. And I'm so glad that we have you guys on tonight. I know we had some tech issues last week, and I'm so grateful and happy because I really love hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, we love hanging out with you too.
So what have you guys been up to? I saw on your Facebook feed you guys were at some big unveiling of a documentary. What was going on with that?
Our days with another team, we had a documentary crew from actually really close to my hometown, that they're a very small mom and pop documentary crew. It's nothing on a big scale. However, they are very, very talented, and they wanted to do something different, I guess, for the Bible Belt, per se, where we live. So they followed us around at a local place in Tupelo, and it was really interesting. We did an investigation there, and they followed us around for 2 days and pretty much, like, got everything that they possibly could, and then within a year's time, you know, they mashed it all together, and they did a phenomenal job. It was awesome to watch. It was a little crazy seeing ourselves on a big screen. I'm not gonna lie, that was a little nuts. However, it was an interesting experience for me and Caden both to, I guess, be a part of. It was really humbling, and it was really awesome. There was a big and shut the whole street down. It was really nice, and we got to meet a lot of people. And although we're not with that team anymore, you know, it was, like I said, it kind of took us back to where we started and when we first got into this and what we were doing and things like that. And we got to meet a lot of really, really awesome people, and some new opportunities opened up for us as Southern Ascension. So that was a plus. It was really awesome. All in all, it was a good experience.
So did you have the whole cringe-worthy thing while seeing you on screen? I don't know. I know listening to your own voice, like me listening to my own voice, I'm just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But seeing yourself on video as well, did that trip you out quite a bit?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's because the time that this was filmed, although we weren't really new to the paranormal, we were new on a team aspect of it. So we pretty much were very green. I believe that was only our second investigation as a team that we did, and that was the very beginning of Alyssa's journey through her gifts. So it was very strange to go back and relive that time, because we honestly looked like babies up there is what I perceived it as. It's like, you know, whenever you're watching your old home videos, you're like, man, I've grown so much since then, or I've changed so much since then. That's pretty much the vibe that we got. But it was really awesome to go back and relive it and see the growth that we've made since then, and see the changes that we've made since then. And yes, to hear our voices and how we spoke, it was just like, do we really sound like that all the time?
I really was cringing because I looked like, it was so insane. That's about the only words I have for myself with it, because I looked like a chicken. I was all over the place. And I was just like, it was like a whole new world for me.
You had a lot of ooh squirrel moments.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You're like, couldn't they cut that out during editing or something? Come on, guys.
Exactly. I was like, what, y'all had to pick that part of it, really? Come on, guys. But no, they're really awesome individuals. Like Alissa said, they're very small time right now, but they have major connections. Like Amy's an actual actress. She's been on a lot of those shows on the Sci-Fi Channel and Destination America, the Haunting series. You've got a couple of movies out right now on big screens, like in the movie theaters and on Amazon Prime. So they know what they're doing. They're just trying to they're like us. They're trying to make their path into the production world. So they're basically, you know, they used us as a stepping stone for themselves as well. Basically, to let everybody know that they can do any type of filming, because usually they do country music stars, their videos and stuff. So this is their first go-around with actually filming and producing something of the paranormal that was their own. And it was really awesome to see. I loved it.
And that's an awesome stepping stone for them to have, as far as having your team to step off from, because you guys are so amazing and so talented. I know every team that I know you guys have been with, you've had great success, and I just love your energy and the work that you guys do. So I'm really proud and happy for you guys. Congratulations on that for your main unveiling, and you guys looked so gorgeous that evening too.
Aww,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I know we've had you guys on the show before. We haven't had Carmen, and I like to start off with letting our listeners know how you got started in the paranormal. How did paranormal investigation find you, or how did you find paranormal investigation? And let's start with Carmen, since we haven't got to meet her yet.
Well, I have always had a huge interest in the paranormal. Ever since I was real small, just local hometown, folklore, I guess you could say. There's always that one house that everyone says is haunted, or this one road everybody needs to go down and see what's happening. So I've always kind of had an interest in it, but I've known Caden for a little over 10 years now. I actually worked with him at one time in our day jobs. And when he and Allisa got together, we just all kind of hit it off. And so we've been very close for many years. And when they started doing this, I was along for the ride in the background. I talk to them every time they go somewhere. I watch their live videos every time they go somewhere. I'm communicating back and forth. So I've always kind of been connected with them. And a few weeks ago, we were just kind of sitting around chatting, and it came up. And they asked me if I wanted to kind of take on the role of case manager and kind of help take a little bit of load off of them. And so it's just kind of went off from there.
All right, and let's go on to Caden. How did you get your start?
So mine started back in high school. I was not in high school quite. I was already out of it, but it was in that same era. I was probably just turned 18 or was fixing to be 18, and I lived in this house that the actual owner of it, he let me know, he's like, don't do anything stupid in the house, because my Aunt Pearl used to live here, and she still hangs around, and if you do something she doesn't like, she'll let you know. I said, okay, that's not creepy at all. And I've always had a fascination in paranormal, but anyways, so hear me now? Okay. During this time, I went through a very hard time in my life dealing with family matters and stuff of that nature. So, of course, I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. And then the girlfriend that I had, my cabin, they decided to go to the cemetery and do some really stupid stuff. I was ended up getting an attachment and bringing it back home with us.
You're breaking up again, I'm sorry.
Months, it's okay. Can you hear me now? I'm trying so hard. Okay, so for the next 8 months after she brought this home, we dealt with a lot of just random issues at first, things being moved, seeing stuff at the corner of your eye, feeling like somebody's always watching you. And then as it progressed, it slowly started attacking me, where I was starting to experience sleep paralysis every single night. I was waking up with bite marks and scratches all over me. I was so sleep deprived that I was actually hallucinating during the daytime. I would be walking down the hall to go to the bathroom, and then the next thing I know, it's 4 or 6 hours later, and I'm somewhere else in the house, or I'm actually outside in the house, or somewhere else, not even near my house, just standing there, having no recollection of what was going on. So that went on, and about the 8-month mark, I actually went to a psychic medium that everybody told me I needed to go see. She told me what I needed to do, and it worked. And from that time on, I told myself that I was going to delve into this with everything that I had and learn everything that I could to help other people that find themselves in the same situation that I was in, because it's a crappy feeling. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. So, that's how it really got me head started into the paranormal to help people.
That's an awesome story, and I want to get back on that. But first, let's hear from Allisa and how she got involved with the paranormal.
Oh, me. I guess the paranormal has kind of just been with me my whole life. As a child, I had quote-unquote imaginary friends, and they weren't so imaginary. I had, just different things my whole life growing up. And then through the teenage years in high school, I went through the whole phase where I really just thought I was freaking nuts, and there's no way this is real, and so on and so forth. And then finally, with the internet age and social media and chat rooms and Google, it was much easier to find like-minded people and people that could communicate and see things like I could. And it kind of just branched out from there. And then as I got older, I started learning that there were actual teams of people who've done these things. And it was really awesome to meet people who are like-minded, physically meet people who were like-minded and who wanted to go out and find these things and find answers for these things and figure these things out. So in short story, it's just been a part of my life my whole life. I just didn't know what it was for a really long time, and my parents didn't know how to help me with it, and they didn't know what to do. And where I live, it's just not an easy place to really come across people that understand it or know what to do with it or anything like that. So they really were kind of up in the air about what to do with it. And then with the internet age, it got easier, and here we are.
That's awesome. And you also had some experience with angels and such, correct?
I did. That was in my very first experience with those things were around the age of 4 that I can remember. According to my parents, I spoke of them prior to that, but this is that's the very first one that I distinctly remember in my mind. I was around 4, and it was the day before my brother had passed away. I had seen angels visit me and communicate with me and talk to me just as I'm speaking to you. And it was not like what you would imagine a ghost or anything to look like. I mean, they were real. They were there. They were right in front of me and communicating with me and telling me what to tell my parents that night. And then the next day, my brother passed away. And that was the very first distinct memory of things like that I have.
Well, it's, a tragedy that you lost your brother, but at the same time to have angels there to take him. I mean, did that give you any sort of sense of ease or whatnot when you lost him?
At that age, I'm not going to say that at the age I am now, it does. Then I don't think that the ease was really meant for me. I think it was meant for my parents, if that makes sense. It was a way, I guess it's just how they knew that I could give that to them. For me, I was okay with it all at that age and I presume that it's because of the angels that I've seen and the angels that spoke to me and what they told me and how peaceful and happy everything felt at that time. And knowing that my brother was okay and that I could still see him and I could still talk to him and so on and so forth made it all okay for me. It made his death okay for me, if that makes sense. But it sounds kind of morbid in a way to say it that way. However, for me, it wasn't morbid at all, and it wasn't bad. The worst part about it was, watching my parents' heartache so little. But it was very happy for me because it was like he was still there.
That's awesome. And I was also wondering, with your guys' debut, being in the Bible Belt, did you find people took it with ease? Was there any sort of resistance? Did you have anybody saying negative things? How exactly did that go?
It actually went surprisingly better than I think any of us thought it would. Of course, you're always going to have some sort of backlash, and you're going to have, those trolls that, have something negative to say. But as a whole, I would say 98% of the feedback was positive. There was, considering that it was a very small hometown, I believe we ended up having 50 people in total, not including the workers, there to watch this show. And then it's also I think they're premiering it at the actual Link Center that we investigated at the end of this month. So, from that premiere, though, that we've had a lot of people contact us, asking us questions. I heard that you guys are in this part of Mississippi. We have this going on. Is that something that you do? Or they're just asking questions. How did you get into this? How do you know that you have, something in your house? How do we protect ourselves? Things of this nature. And it's been really, really, really positive. Like I said, you're always going to have, one or two bad apples. That's inevitable. There's nothing you can do about it. But, I think that all three of us can agree that we have had more positive come out of this than anything. Like Allisa stated earlier, although that documentaries, whenever we were with our past team, we actually had a lot of future endeavors laid out to us, or we were invited to future events that opened up a whole nother gateway for Southern Ascension Paranormal.
That's awesome. And you were talking about how, Caden, when you were younger, you had this paranormal stuff going on, you had lack of sleep, and then in that case, you had different things going on that you didn't think were real. Do you think that with the lack of sleep, it showed you more things, or do you think you were kind of hallucinating things?
I think it was a combination of all things. The entity that decided to torment me for those months, it targeted me where my weakness was. And at that particular time, my weakness legitimately was my mind, because I was so confused about a lot of different things that were going on around my life, and how my family was doing this or how my friends were doing this. And it knew that if it targeted that part of me and broke me down, that it would break me down enough to where it could actually successfully possess me. And that's what ended up happening, is it would target my dreams. At first, it was just normal night. I assume what everybody goes through, you wake up in cold sweats, and it seems so real, to where it would get as bad as all of my dreams started becoming lucid dreams, where if I got hit in my dream, I would wake up with the bruise where I got hit. If I was touched in my dream, like smacked or scratched, I would wake up with the same prints or the scratch marks on me. And that broke me down to where I was terrified to sleep, so I would literally stay up until I couldn't anymore, in fear of going to sleep on what might happen. So while that went on, and it did not take long, I mean, the human brain can only handle so much sleep deprivation. So I want to say about the second week in, I was honestly maybe running off of 48 hours of sleep for 2 weeks, which it's not a lot. I mean, I was catching cat naps, basically. And after those 2 weeks leading up into the third week is when I actually started hallucinating during the day, where, I would think that I was somewhere else for a minute, and I would kind of come back to reality and be like, no, I'm at home. But then that's whenever it started manifesting itself for me to see. And I was able to see this thing on quite a few occasions. And I was so terrified. I mean, think of at this particular time, I think I was 18. I had already turned 18 when it started really getting bad. And an 18-year-old boy, because although I thought I was a man, I wasn't, an 18-year-old boy telling his girlfriend, don't you dare wake me up when you get up to work, because I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm terrified, is a huge thing. And that stayed like that, where it would manifest. It would throw things at me. It would, attack me during my dreams, attack me during the day. And then it started what I call and what I feel like would be partial possessions. You know, that's the loss of time. I would go to the bathroom, and then it's like the lights went off, and then I come back through, and I'm somewhere completely different, and there's hours missing. No rhyme or reason. And I actually had a friend, and I just recently remembered this happening because me and Allisa were talking about it, and me and Carmen, I believe, were talking about it too. I had forgot that I had brought in a friend to help who claimed that she could. She claimed that she was a witch, and I'm like, I don't even care. Just whatever you can do, just come help me. And I do remember her coming over, and she stayed the night, but I don't remember the next, I think it was like 8 or 12 hours. And apparently during that time, I had actually tried to attack her. I tried to attack my girlfriend, and I tried to attack some other people that were there. And it was some of my girlfriend's brothers. And they said that I was just talking unlike myself. It was like a voice that wasn't mine. My mannerisms weren't mine. I would be walking around like a zombie, and then the next thing I would literally be trying to kill them, telling them to leave me alone, get away from me, this is my house now, things of that nature. And I completely forgot about all that, which doesn't shock me because it was so traumatic. And I mean, to this day, that those events that I went through has made me who I am today. But it took everything I had, and I've told you this before, and I think I've said it on another show that we did, that during this time it had gotten so bad, I was so fed up that I actually tried to kill myself on a couple of occasions during all this. We had a gun, and every time that I've just had enough and said I'm ending it all, it's like this entity was toying with me, and I would take this gun and I would go outside and I would put the gun to my head or whatever, and I would go to pull the trigger, and it would malfunction every single time. Call it divine intervention, or call it, the entity wasn't done toying with me quite yet. But nothing that I did would work. But, I mean, thank the gods that it didn't, because I wouldn't be here today to speak to you, and I wouldn't have my wife, and I wouldn't have my son. But, during that time, it just goes to prove that that's how mentally broke down it made me.
Yeah, and it's interesting how you say, it kept you from sleeping and it did these other things so it could take you over. Do you think during these times of unconsciousness you were taken over by this entity?
I believe that I was. Now, I've done a lot of research on what sleep deprivation can do to the human brain, and that's why I said I think it's a little bit of everything. Part of it was, yes, I was actually hallucinating to where I probably don't remember it, but another it had to have been this entity, because there's no reason why I would have body now. Y'all need to go and be
And you keep breaking up. I don't know if it's the impending storm or what's going on. Could you repeat the last of what you said?
Yeah. I'm not really for certain if it was, just the sleep deprivation or the entity, but, a part of me knows that some of it had to do with the sleep deprivation. I'm not naive to say that didn't play a huge factor in it, but a lot of it, in my personal opinion, was that's just what it did to break me down. That's what they do when they want to possess you. They break you down to where you just mentally give up, and you're like, whatever, do whatever you want to do. I'm done.
Yeah, and it does open that door for them to take you over. When you were talking about losing time, at first I was like, oh no, was he abducted? But then there's the other portion of it where entities do try to take you over to do their will, whether it's causing chaos or whatnot in your household, and causing negative feelings, contention, so on and so forth, things on which they feed upon. That's pretty scary stuff, and I've gone through that myself. And then my daughter, she had been going through that in her house. She lives in an old abandoned Catholic church, And one of the first entities she saw there, and when I first went there, I was like, hey, you know this place is haunted, right? And she's like, yeah, I feel it, but nobody else does. And then she saw this entity in front of her, this guy that was all sucked up and scratching his head, moving his head really fast back and forth, just kind of in a fetal position, but sitting up on the floor. And then she started seeing the Hat Man and other shadow figures, which I went and I saw those as well. And then her and her boyfriend just recently broke up, and she was telling me she saw her boyfriend, and he was really, really skinny, and I was like, oh my God, Kinsey, do you think that what you saw in front of you was Timmy, like, in future tense as far as what this entity is going to do by taking him over? And she's like, Mom, that's so freaky. But she said when she first saw it, she did think it was Timmy. And then she ran past it into the bedroom, and he was in bed, so she knew it wasn't him. So that was pretty freaky.
And that's what it does, because it's interesting that you say that, because when I tell the story, you know, sometimes I mention it, sometimes I don't, but, you know, the first 3 months that this happened, I went from being, you know, I'm 5'4", I'm a short guy, but I went from being about 140-ish pounds to 110 in a matter of 2 to 3 months, because I couldn't eat and I wouldn't sleep. All I did was stay up. I literally looked like I was on drugs. And that's what a lot of people thought what was wrong with me, is that I was on drugs and was getting paranoid. And I was like, no, if you only knew what I was dealing with at home, you would understand. Like, I wish that it was that simple and that it was drugs, but it wasn't. It was something that I cannot see. But the entity that I've seen, I wish it was as docile as, you know, the Hat Man or these other things. This particular thing was, you know, we lived in a trailer, and I think the trailers from ground to roof was maybe 10 foot max. Well, this thing was so tall that it actually had to slump over. The first time that I seen it in the hallway, it had to slump over. Its back of its shoulders was scrubbing the roof, and its hands went below its knees. I mean, it had abnormally long limbs. And I cannot, even to this day, I couldn't tell you, you know, facial structures. I couldn't tell you anything of detail other than how tall it was and how long its limbs were, and this growl that I will never be able to explain, and I have yet to hear anything that is similar to this growl. I mean, it's one of those when you go to a horror movie or a horror film and you hear just this blood-curdling scream or this gnarly growl that they depict on whatever it is that they're showing. It was like that. I mean, it was extremely unique. It was extremely loud to where I felt like it rattled the entire building and scared the crap out of me. I mean, other than that, I couldn't tell you anything about the facial features. I mean, I couldn't tell you if it had a nose or not, because I seen the sheer size of this, and when I heard that growl, I mean, I was just frozen stiff. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't do anything. I just went blank, like, holy, insert bad word here, I'm about to die. And that's how I felt.
It really does make you feel helpless and like there's no hope out there, and that's why I love teams like yours and mine. We go out there and we help people for free because we know there's not a lot of help out there for people. And for me, I feel like I'd be taking advantage if I charged, and ethically it's just not right. So thank you guys for what you do for people out there that do need help from these certain attacks and such.
We wholeheartedly, like, I could not agree with what you just said more. I just can't, I have come across more so here recently than not a lot of people who charge for things like what you're talking about, you know, and it blows my mind, Tessa. Like, I can't understand it. I really cannot. I can't understand how you can morally take advantage of someone who is, you know, you just heard Caden's story. If someone comes to you and they're in that kind of position And they are that vulnerable and that weak and that distraught and that afraid, and they have no idea what to do, nobody to turn to. That is as a human, that is a weak, vulnerable place to be. And when you find somebody who can give you that little slither of hope, somebody who's like, here, I'm here, I can help you, I can do this, I can do that. And then for them to be like, okay, but I need you to pay me this much and this much and this much first. How can you do that? I cannot, in my mind, I can't understand. It blows my mind. And I have ran across it more times than not here in the last month and a half or so. And I just literally have to remove them. Like if they're on my social media, I can't watch and partake and support. Like I just can't do it.
Yeah, it's very hard. And, not getting paid, I know you can go broke doing this. Somebody was just asking me on Periscope, how much do you pay? Well, to do this show, I pay hundreds. To do my paranormal site, it's cost thousands as far as equipment and different things you need for clearing houses, so on and so forth.
Yep.
So for you guys, when you first started this group, what was your first gig? What was your first investigation?
I'm having to think. What was our first? Do you even remember? Southern Ascension. Like what our?
It was fine.
It was, wasn't it? We had a private client out of our state, about 4.5 hours away. It was in Arkansas, and that was our very first one that we did, like on location. I've done a lot astrally. But on location, that was the first one that we done with Southern Ascension. It was a private client. It was a private home, and this family was really, really struggling. They were on their breaking point. Like their marriage was, at an odds end because of the things going on and the stress that these things had caused. Like their whole, and there was a house full of children. It was really bad, really, 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 really bad. And we were able to, within, I think, 5 hours, go in, help them, give them enough post-care. And, it was like you could feel how much better they actually felt before we actually left their home. And it was amazing. Until this day, they still communicate with us, and they're so appreciative because to them, we gave them something they could not get anywhere else. They were on the verge of losing everything. It was so bad. And to be able to give that to someone and look at them and say, it's okay, I'm here to help you, and I promise you this is what we're going to do. And then deliver on that is the most amazing fulfillment I think I've ever felt outside of, my marriage and being a mom and stuff. That's just one of the best things ever. And that was the very first thing we ever done at Southern Ascension was a private client and private home. And it was rough, Tessa. That one was really rough. But we did it, and it turned out amazing, and we helped them, and that's the best feeling possible.
Can you guys paint a picture for myself and our listeners as far as what exactly were you guys dealing with there? What was attacking this family and causing all these issues? And what kind of encounters did you have on this investigation?
So when the case came to us, it actually came from our good friends Jack and Mitzi with Memphis Ghost Hunters. Jack had reached out to me and Allisa and was telling us that he's been in contact with this lady. She was the mom, and just laid out all these experiences. They had one instance was they had the word "die" that was burned into their bathroom cabinet, I believe, and then they were seeing things. The animals were getting sick. One of the kids that were there, they were being mentally affected by all of it, to where they actually took him to the hospital because he just kept staying sick. So we get there. I was like, that's all I really need to know. Allisa astraled there, and she was like, yeah, we need to be there physically. I was like, okay. So within a week, we all traveled to Arkansas. We get there and we're speaking to the mom, and it's her daughter and son-in-law, and then their 2 kids that live there. So we're speaking with her, and she's kind of telling us what's going on, what she's been experiencing. And then she was basically saying, you know, my daughter and her husband, they think that I'm crazy, but me and the oldest grandson are the ones that are being attacked by this. This is what's happening. I'm like, okay. And that's all she said. So we start going around, and me and Alyssa's kind of doing our own thing, walking around, getting readings, seeing where the hot spots are or who has had what experience where. And to us, it felt like all of the negative energy was based in the basement area. And then everything that was above the basement was more or less just their own family drama, if that makes sense. You know, the fighting and residual that's going on upstairs, that's what was tarnishing the good vibes upstairs. So we didn't really get anything upstairs. We got a few, Alissa found what she seemed to think was a portal in the den area that was allowing the spirits to just come in and out, in and out, in and out of this home. But the basement was the hardest for us even, because before we got there, I got the address and I was doing as much research as I could on this location as far as what was, before it was a home, what was there, what's near it, what kind of conductors are around, natural conductors, are there cemeteries, are there churches, is there a airport nearby, bodies of water, things of that nature. And then I also went and back checked to see if there was any major ley lines that went through the home or near it. So we're doing all this, and we go downstairs where this shadow person has been seen on numerous occasions. And this is where everybody is tormented. Nobody would stay long in the basement, which ironically is where the mom and the oldest grandson stayed. That's where they lived, was in the basement area. It was like a little apartment that they were trying to rebuild. So we get down there, and it's like as soon as you stepped down there, the energy shift. I mean, you could just feel it. Tension, anger. I mean, for lack of a better term, it was just peed off 100%. And then it actually manifested itself to Alissa, and she's like, okay, we need to take a break because this is going to take a lot more than what I originally thought. So we broke down and we're talking. She's like, Caden, this is Native American. And I said, are you sure? And she said, yes. And she described to me what she's seen. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, that makes sense. Do you want me to tell you what used to go around this place? And she was like, yeah, it can't hurt now. But the house was built, part of it was built directly on top of what was considered an Indian mound. It's still, part of that area is still registered as the Native American lands, tribal area where ceremonies took place, and also still has some Indian mounds nearby. I was like, so that makes sense. I was like, but why is it here? And she said that it's just connected to the land. And I said, okay, how easy can we get rid of it? And she's like, I don't know. She's like, all we can do is, if he's not going to talk to us, then we're just going to have to forcefully get rid of it. I said, okay. So we go downstairs. We tell Jack what's going on. And we go downstairs, and I said, I'm going to go ahead and start smudging just to try to help, because this Native American, as most Native Americans, they're not going to speak to people like me and Jack who don't really have a connection to that heritage. And I told Alissa, I was like, stay outside because I'm going to do some provoking, but not a lot, just enough to see if I can get him mad to talk, because at this point, he was sticking to the edges and he was actually causing harm to the lady that lived there. Like while we were there, her chest started hurting. We actually had to stop a couple of times thinking that she was having a heart attack. That's how bad it got. And anybody that knows us, knows that we are not for provoking at all. That's not what we do. We do not try to do that. But in this instance, it came across as provoking because I was being very firm. You know, you're not going to try to bully your way into this home. You are going to speak to us. If you're hurting this lady, why do you have a problem showing yourself to me? Why won't you communicate and tell us what you want so that we can help you so you can move on? Doing things of that nature, which, like I said, a lot of people think it's provoking. I was just being firm, and I was tired of this guy hurting the lady and hurting the minors that lived in the home. Once I started doing that is when the party really started. Some of the lights started flickering. Jack and another lady that was with him, one of his investigators, they actually got sick to where they had to run outside. I mean, they got sick to their stomach where they thought they were going to throw up. And then, like I mentioned, the lady, I believe Jack actually did. He got really sick. The lady, the private client, like I said, her chest was hurting, and we had to stop on several occasions, and then she started getting nauseous. And then I started getting nauseous, which made me even more mad because I'm like, okay, I thought that I had my shields and my barriers knocked down like Fort Knox. Guess not the case. So I had to excuse myself and recollect myself and ground myself again and then come back. And when we came back is whenever all of the equipment started going haywire. We had DVR systems, the REM pod, the millimeters, things of that nature going on. All of them died simultaneously. And as soon as they died, Allisa, Jack, the private client, and the other investigator that was with us seen this Native American manifest in front of their eyes and walk directly to them. Full body, walked directly to them. And whenever I heard them, I was on the other end of the basement still smudging and still talking. And when they told me this, I come running back to that area, and he's gone. And I'm like, okay, let's review footage. Let's see what's going on. I was like, y'all keep doing what you're doing. I'm going upstairs. And I go upstairs, and that's when I notice everything is turned off. Like, that is died. There's nothing. Everything has been erased. There is nothing at all. It was insane. But we got the job done. We got him we got him out of the basement. We cleansed the entire house up and down 3 times before we went. And then we also spoke to them one-on-one and showed them how to properly cleanse their home and to maintain it, just to keep it gone. Because like we told them, where you're living and because of the history, the chances are something coming back is great. So you're going to have to do this every single week. If not for a while until you move. So yeah, it was pretty insane.
So when the native approached you guys, did he have any sort of message? Did he look like he was threatening? What exactly happened with that?
We actually figured out, we have it wrote down, Tessa, I'm not going to lie. I did see the name Wendigo come up in the chat room. That's not what this was. We learned it was something different. And the reason that he was going after particularly the elderly lady in the home was because in that Native American, I hate to say belief system, but he was being punished. We did learn that. What he had turned into was something other than what he was, and he was being punished for a deed, and it was part of their belief. Much like, the stories and things that you hear of a Wendigo and how they are created, this was similar to that. And they went after elderly people in their villages whom were weak and dying or had some sort of health problem, if that makes sense, because they were easy prey. To put very bluntly, to get their number that they were supposed to have. It took us a long time to actually get a name, but we do have it somewhere written down. of what this was, and it took a long time and a lot of research to figure that out exactly, because the messages were kind of confusing because they were very much like what I just said. They were very cryptic, but they were informative as to why he was particularly targeting this older lady and why he was connected to everything she done and so on and so forth. Really, that's the messages that we got. And then it took us, I guess, about a month afterwards to really figure out, like, put a name to it with some research and data behind it, per se.
So when it comes to cleansing for them and dealing with this native spirit, what sort of steps did you have them take, and what sort of steps did you take to get this house cleansed?
So with us, we kind of knew their background when it came to religion. So we wanted to stick true to that, but also do something that would help on the Native American side without making them upset as well. So we didn't want to wanted to keep it Christian-like, but it had to be, it was a reverb, but it had to be spiritual as well. So what we ended up doing is we gave them a lot of crystals and stones that they could use for protection. I believe we gave their kids, we gave them rose quartz, amethyst, and black obsidian. We gave them tourmaline, black or snowflake obsidian, and labradorite, I believe. So we gave them that. We explained to them how to cleanse them when the full moon runs around, or if they have a spring they can take them to. They'll get some spring water and cleanse them that way. And then I had them walk with me as I burned Palo Santo all throughout the house. I started like I normally do. And because the basement was the focus point, I started upstairs and worked my way down. And I smoked that place out. I did. Because, I went through and took my time, and I think I was burning 2 sticks at once to get as much smoke as I could. And then I went directly in behind that with my sage smudge stick and did the exact same thing. And then I had them doing their own personalized prayer while I was cleansing, while I was doing mine in my head, just so that they could get comfortable with it. And I told them, they needed to smudge at least once a week for the first couple of months, if not more. If they ever feel uneasy, they could go ahead and smudge right away. And I told them, some of the detailed cleansings is some of the most common sense. When you think of negative energy, at least whenever we do, we think of things being harbored in a location. It's much like your catch-all closet or your junk drawer. You throw everything in there and you forget about it. When you want to properly cleanse a home completely, 100%, it's not just smudging, it's not just crystals. You actually have to go through your home and go through these junk drawers and go through these closets and go through these places that you normally skim over when you're cleaning your house and remove it all. Anything that does not have any sort of connection to you positively, you need to get rid of it. You need to go through, and I taught them how to make their own cleansing water, I always use sea salt or Himalayan salt. You boil it in some water. I always add fresh lemons for the scent, and I go through and clean everything in our home. I said, this is what you do. And I was like, just like this room in here that I can tell is pretty much your storage room. You need to go through that. I'm not saying you have to get rid of everything, but at least you need to reorganize it and make it cleaner. And when you're doing that, you clean it with this solution. So for them, that's the route that I went. And I also came in contact, I gave them a few names of some local churches that were nearby. And I was like, if you need holy water or if you need a priest, here's where you can go if your pastor that y'all go to is not able to come. These people will. To come in and, you can have your home blessed every so often just to maintain it.
And that is nice to have somebody on backup, because you never know when someone in the church field is just going to kind of cast off what you're saying and not help you, whether they don't believe you or whether they're afraid themselves. So it's good to have somebody in your back pocket to hand out that people can get help from, because it is so needed.
Absolutely. And we do run into that a lot with our private clients. You know, if they do go to church and we tell them you can always have your pastor, your priest, whatever denomination they are, come in and, you know, do a prayer of your home or spiritually cleanse your home, they're going to look at me weird. And I'm like, okay, well, if you don't want to use them, then here's some other churches that are nearby. And if you would rather us contact them to see if they will do it, we have no problem doing that. I can find you somebody in your faith path that can come in and do a blessing of your home. That's of that thing, if that's what they want. And that's one of the things that we pride ourselves in. They do not have to do what we tell them to do. You know, we just give them things that can help. It's up to them to do it or not, but we always give them more than 2 options at least. You can either do option A, option B, option C, or option D, which is you don't do a darn thing.
Well, on that note, Caden, we do have to go to our first break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after these messages.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Looking for nighttime adventure? Old school radio that delves into everything out of the norm? Then check us out at Spaced Out Radio. This is Dave Scott. Every Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we're going to take you on a wild ride ranging from conspiracies to true crime and every ghost, alien, and Sasquatch story in between. We're always live, and we're always interactive with you. So join us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, we own the night.
Hey fans, it's Dave Scott. Do I have something for you to check out? A great documentary about legendary Mexican investigative journalist Jaime Maussan and his search for the truth about UFOs. Beyond the Spectrum, Maussan's UFO files can be found on Amazon Prime. It's free to watch if you're a member. You might even hear me in it. So check out Beyond the Spectrum, only on Amazon Prime.
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacey, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacey, head of the Research Association, Tessa. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
If you're heading to Vancouver, make sure you stop by the official bar of Spaced Out Radio, the Moose Vancouver. It's the place to party in YVR at the corner of Nelson and Granville. The Moose Vancouver is always up to speed with a kitchen staff that serves great food. All food on the menu, $6.95 to $8.95. There's a reason the Moose Vancouver is recognized as one of the hottest spots on the West Coast. Get your horns up for the Moose Vancouver. Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You can follow Tessa on Twitter at TessaTNT, on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now, back to Spaced Out Weekend host, Tessa Nicole Thomas.
Here's a sound again, voices dancing in my head, smile wide, drowning slowly as the echoes rise.
Hey everyone, welcome back and thanks so much for joining us this evening. Tonight we are joined by Alissa, Caden, and Carmen from Southern Ascension Paranormal. Welcome back, guys. So great to have you.
Hi!
Hey! Thanks for having us again. We are really honored that you had us back on, so thank you so much.
I do. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I just can't get enough of you guys. You guys are amazing. All right, so we left off on that last case, and one of the questions I had about that, anytime that it comes to working with natives in the paranormal and such, do you ever use sweetgrass or tobacco as an offering, or, you know, fruits and different kinds of things like that? Or do you stick to the Palo Santo, which I love? Like, I don't even have to light it. Just smelling it takes the anxiety away.
Yeah, when we're usually, like, now, I'm not going to lie. When it came to this particular person, we did not leave him an offering just because of what he was there for. Once we banished him from that area, that was it. Now, when we have been at other locations that we had to deal with the Native Americans, yes, we would leave sweetgrass or tobacco. There have been times where we have actually sat there, you know, even whenever we were packing up and just played Native American style music, if we didn't have anything that we could leave, which granted I always left like a cigarette because tobacco, but, you know, we would always try to do something just to show respect.
That's awesome. And a lot of teams, I think, don't realize that respect is of the utmost importance. And I know you said that you used kind of antagonizing techniques or whatnot to get the spirit to come out. Sometimes you do have to do that because they'll just lay in wait and not even show themselves because they know what you're there for.
Absolutely.
So what kind of techniques do you use? Like, what did you say to this particular spirit? If you said it earlier, I think I missed it, but what exactly did you say when you were kind of antagonizing him, trying to get him to come out of the cracks?
Right. Well, that was the first time that I've actually provoked or, like you said, antagonized a spirit, because there's many things that I do not tolerate when it comes to spirit. Bullies, and when a spirit is harming somebody that is elder and somebody that is younger. I don't like when they harm anybody, but especially the elder and especially young kids, I have zero tolerance. So it really perturbed me. And this whole time that we were there, Allisa was like, he knows why we're here and he's hiding. He's not going to come out, which is going to make it harder for me and us to banish him because he's hopping around. He won't stay still long enough. And if I can't figure out what he wants and why he's here, I'm not sure if I can sever that cord or not. So I was like, okay. So I tried being nice. You know, I did the whole spiel. You know, will you please just talk to us? If there's something that you want, let us know, and we'll see if we can get it for you. And if we can't, let's see if we can compromise. Which, I mean, sounds crazy trying to compromise with them, but that's how they operate. They operate just like us. And when that didn't help, you know, it was like he was literally mocking me and laughing at us. So I told Jack and Allisa, I was like, I have an idea, and I'm not sure if you are okay with it. I'm not really okay with it, but I want to try it. Because they are just like us, whenever somebody gets mad and they get really irritated and they have somebody poking their buttons, what are they going to do? They're going to make mistakes. They're going to get so cocky and so mad that they're going to start giving out information to make themselves seem bigger than what they are. So my theory was, if I can make him mad to where he shows himself and starts at least giving us some sort of inkling as to why he is there, then it makes our job easier. So that's the route that I went. So I went in by myself at first in the basement. I was like, okay, I'm by myself. You can pick on, you know, the elderly lady that's outside. You can pick on a little kid. Why don't you try picking on me? If this is what you want, you're wanting, you know, you want to hurt people, then why don't you show yourself and just show me just how powerful you are? I'm not scared of you because you're picking on two types of people that are weaker than somebody that's of my age and somebody that's in my health. I was like, you know, and I just kept going on, and I'm still smudging at this point. And I was like, you're just mad because you know why we're here. You feel small. You know, you think that if you're so powerful and you're making these people feel this way, then it should be no problem for you to stop me from smudging and for us to kicking you out. And I just kept saying things of that nature. Like, come on, why don't you just tell me what you're here for? If, you know, if you think that we can't stop you, then what's the harm in you telling us what you want, why you're here? And I just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. And then finally, that's when everything started going haywire. I guess I pushed the button, and it was game over because Allisa and Jack came in. That's when everybody, started feeling queasy and started getting sick. And Allisa just started getting flooded with information, and she's writing it down as quick as what she's receiving it. And I was like, okay, well, thank God it worked, because I'm not going to lie. I started getting a little nervous there myself, because you could feel the energy getting from bad to worse. It felt like when you walk in, you feel somebody's watching you. It's like I could feel somebody there, but it's like the more that I antagonized to try to get them to talk so that we could get the information to banish them, quite physically, he was getting bigger. It's like he went from 5 feet tall to 8 feet tall. It's like, when somebody's getting mad, their chest starts poking out and they start standing up a little straighter so they seem bigger. That's the feeling that I was getting with him, is that he was doing that. But that was the first and the last time that I have ever antagonized, and luckily it worked for us in that situation. But I have to tell you, I told Allisa after that I would never do that again unless we're in an extreme situation, because I don't like being that type of person. I do not like investigating that style. And I hated that it came to that, but we had already done everything that we knew to do to sever this tie with him and the land and him with the people, that was our last resort.
Yeah, and sometimes it does come to that. Like, you're poking around a place and you're like, nothing's happening. There are times when you do have to use that, and I don't advise that to people very often, but sometimes you do have to get stern and call them out. That doesn't mean you're really disrespecting them, but there are a lot of spirits out there that do feed upon the weak, whether it's children or especially the elderly. I don't know how many different entities I've seen at nursing homes while going to visit loved ones that are sitting there and they're just pulling and feeding off of these people. And a lot of times people in nursing homes say people die in threes, which we hear that a lot in life, but especially in the nursing home, there'll be 3 in a row. And
right.
I remember when Vern's mom was in there, she was legitimately afraid. She was seeing this little girl holding a doll. And my daughter Nova was staying with her several times. And right before I came in one night, she's like, "Hey, Mom, were you just right outside the window?" And I was like, "No. Why in the hell would I do that?" And she's like, "I just saw this shadow figure outside the window with a bun on the back of her head." And the funny thing is, the land was donated by the Ute tribe for the hospital and this nursing home and all these other places to be. So that's pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, it's funny that you speak of that. Not humorous. It's strange. Because that's what I did up until I left work, this year. And eventually I'll go back. But that's what I was in, was geriatric care in a private facility. And it was one of those things where it was crazy, the gifts and the abilities that I've been blessed with, and then to match that with the career path that I had was, for some people, they would be like, "Allisa, you're nuts. You're freaking nuts." But at the same time, it was extra fulfillment for me because I got to help them in my career path, and then I got to help them on a spiritual path with what I'm capable of doing, if that makes sense. So it was like a bonus for me.
So you're saying you were actually working in a nursing home. Did you witness things or notice the whole 3 people dying at a time scenario going on?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And, even people who are not believers in the paranormal that work with geriatric care, especially in a critical care place like what I worked, the part that I worked for was a very privately owned company. It was more of a Hilton for people with dementia who were passing and so on and so forth. To me, it was a little more different at the time than what a real nursing home was like, because it was just more private for the families and the residents that lived there. I guess it was like their own little apartment. However, the care is still the same, if that makes sense. So, even inside of that field, you will hear nurses and people who work there speaking about it happening in threes, because it always does. It never fails. And I will in just a second. It was really sad, because you knew when one started going, most of the time within moments of someone passing, someone else would start what we called the transition into passing. So it always happened in threes, like it never failed. And with that being said, I will pass this to Carmen, because she also worked in a hospital for a very long time. And
I was going to say, I can confirm that. My first experience in a hospital setting, working there, I was 18 years old, and I worked as a CNA, and I was warned by nurses and other staff that these kinds of things would happen, and a lot of them were just the staff. They were scared. There's a certain floor on the hospital that's in our town that people just did not want to work on. In fact, they shut that floor down for a long time because of the ghost sightings, spirit sightings. Even in the critical care unit there, I will have to say I did see some paranormal activity. It had been talked about. They called the ghost Hank. And Hank would show up when someone was about to pass. And I actually saw Hank on 2 or 3 occasions. He was just a shadow figure, and he would pass through walls, and the room that he would actually end up in would be a room where a patient either had just passed or was about to pass. And it was never, for me, it was never anything scary. It was never anything to be nervous about. It was just like, oh, there's Hank. But we knew that these people were about to pass. It was not a sad thing. It was just, that just kind of made it clear that it's right now it's happening. And even later on in life, I went back to work at the hospital in a different role, and I was able to work some trauma situations in the emergency room, and it's not something that everybody sees, but it's something that everybody talks about. And somebody that's even the least bit sensitive to anything like that, you feel it, you know it, you possibly see it, smell it. It just, but for me, it's never been, I've never been in a situation where I was scared or nervous. I have a healthy respect for the paranormal, but up until now, I've never been in a situation where I was actually scared. Now, that may very well change, but up to now, it hasn't bothered me so much. I'm more intrigued and curious than I am scared or nervous.
Do you think that they come to these places and prey upon these places because the elderly are weaker as far as in stature and in mentality?
I don't think it's a prey sort of thing. I just think in my mind, I feel like it's a spirit helping them cross over. Maybe that's what I feel like. That it's a very peaceful thing to me. Now, people who are skeptics or people who are just scared of the paranormal, They may say that, but for somebody like me or Alissa or Caden, I know that if they were there in that situation, they would probably say the same thing that I'm saying or something very close. It's not something that is malevolent or anything like that. It's for me in that situation, for a person who is a terminal patient or a patient who's been in a traumatic accident or something, and they are dying. The times that I've never been in a situation where it was the patient was scared of their own death or something. That every time that I've seen Hank is what they called him, it was very peaceful. I have actually seen patients who talked about they right before dying that they knew that was their time and they were at peace with it, and they seen beautiful colors or some even said they seen angels or what have you, and within just moments they would pass. So it was never anything like a prey situation.
Well, that's good, because I've heard different ones, and another one that was particularly cool was my father-in-law, and he said that he saw his old bandmates. He used to play in the band in World War II, and he did not have to go to war because of that, and due to that he had some sort of survivor's guilt, as well as some raw feelings in his older years. He felt really guilty about not going overseas and being with his brothers as they passed away. He was able to stay behind and play at the officers club and such, and so he went through a lot of that. But he did say one of his bandmates came the night before he passed. He said, my band mate, and I can't remember his name, but he came and he said, we have a gig tomorrow night and I'm going to be there for it. And the very next day he passed. And so that was very cool. Like, he actually had somebody come for him and a place to go. And a lot of people, I have a friend that passed like 5 different times and was brought back and has had 5 different heart surgeries, so on and so forth. He has never seen anything. But I think it's because it wasn't his time. But for those, when it is their time, they do see different people, whether it's Hank or somebody that they knew in their own life. There is somebody that does come for them and a place for them to go in the afterlife, and that's pretty interesting and intriguing in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of, and I'm kind of speaking on Alyssa's behalf right now. Whenever she worked in geriatrics, she would always know before somebody passed, and she would always come home and she'd be like, so-and-so is in transitioning. And she'd be like, they were talking about that they had seen their husband or their wife or somebody else that had been deceased, their mom and dad. So I think that whenever we do start to get ready to leave this life, that our past loved ones show themselves to ease our nerves and to make it easier for us to let go of our earthly ties. It's basically as if to say, it's okay for you to let it go. You're going to be at peace and you'll be with us. And that's what we've always came across with that situation.
So we've talked a lot about nursing homes and your guys' first paranormal endeavor as Southern Ascension Paranormal. Is there another case that you guys have done that you'd like to talk about? I remember seeing you guys doing a Facebook Live, and it was very beautiful, the house that you were at, and there was kind of like this little shed in the backyard and stuff. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yes, that was our good friend Mr. Terry's house. We've been there before, and it's one of those locations that, and the way that I describe it all, is I kind of do everything in levels. His house is not active in the sense of, Waverly Hills or the Monroe house, the in-your-face paranormal. his home is more or less residual and laid back. You could go there and it be completely quiet, or you can go there another time and have evidence or occurrences back to back to back to back to back. We've always loved his home. His home is actually not far from what's called the Trail of Tears. It's very colonial style. He has a lot of antiques throughout his entire house. And it's just one of those homes that you go to and it's a feel-good investigation. It's one of those places that we always go, and it's not that we go just to get evidence. We literally go just to hang out with him and to listen to his stories and his occurrences, because he lives alone now with his 2 dogs. And some of the stuff that he has experienced while living there is some off-the-wall stuff. And it's pretty incredible to listen to his stories because it goes far beyond just spirit. You know, he had some UFO experiences when he was younger and within the house. He's had experiences with what could possibly be considered Bigfoot. He's had a lot of interesting stuff within his home. So it just makes it one of those locations that we love to go to, because every time you go, you learn something new. Or we come across a different spirit that's there. Or we come across something that wasn't there before. I think I lost you for a second. Are you there?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I was
Uh-oh.
I had myself unmuted on the computer but muted on my mic. But I was wondering, do you think that these different things are happening because you are near the Trail of Tears, or was this property once used as a place where there was crops and enslavement, or what are your feelings on what's going on there, and can you paint a picture of some of the things that you've come across on this land?
I will do that one because it's actually one of my favorite places to visit. Just like both sides of me fully enjoyed that. The paranormal investigator in me and then the medium in me, because number one, this home is, it's just stunningly beautiful. Number two, it is full of these antiques that all have different energies and different things attached to them, if that makes sense. The energies are so different all over that home. And, you know, the owner of this home is, like Caden said, he is just an awesome dude. You know, he's had experiences his whole life. He is a avid antique collector. And it's like every little piece of that home has a story to tell. And I enjoy going because there are particularly 3 different spirits that I always get when we go. They're very talkative, and for me it's a good time to ask the questions that you don't ask. You know, if you have a spirit that comes to you at a private client's home or a public investigation or anything like that. So when we go to this particular home, like I said, I have 3 spirits that usually come through, and they're very chatty, they're very talkative. So it's the perfect time to ask those questions that you want to ask, if that makes sense. And one of them is a soldier who had no belonging to that home. I guess that's the way to say that. He didn't have, there's no connection for him in that home. He just ended up there during that time. And his story by itself is amazing. And the information that you get from that era and the answers that you get are, once again, amazing. Him talking about his childhood, growing up very poorly and on a farm, and why he joined the military and how he was, you know what I'm saying? Those type things. That's what happens when we go there. And it's always like that, which is really awesome. Like I said, for me, it's awesome on both sides. because the paranormal investigator in me just gets super amped up and super excited. And then I start having these conversations and getting these answers, and it's an amazing experience every single time we go there. But 98% of what I receive when we are there is from that one particular soldier, because he is probably the most chatty spirit that fluctuates in and out of that house. And it's like he knows when we're coming, because I'll start receiving small messages from him 24 hours out of time to go. And it's about an hour and a half drive from Caden and I. And so getting there, like all the way there, I'm like, Caden, blah, 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 Caden, blah, 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 trying to tell him stuff. And then it's like this one particular spirit knows when we're coming, and he gets excited because he wants to tell his story. And we are nowhere near done with that, because he has so much to say. And I am very, very excited to document that for my own purposes, like on paper. I don't mean recording or anything like that. I just mean on paper. That story alone is just awesome.
So is this a Civil War soldier, or what are you picking up on with this guy?
Yes, he is a Confederate soldier. It is a white male. I believe, what did we say his age was? We had it. He was about 31-ish. He looks much younger than that, other than the scars on his face. He had planned on joining the military on his own and ended up being drafted. His family was very poor. He didn't come from a bad family, but they were very poor and they struggled. And in that time, that wasn't something that was not common in that area. There was a lot of farmland, and there was a lot of just poor households. There wasn't a lot of work around this area in that time. And he had planned on joining the military in hopes to get a better education than what he had received, because he had to quit school and help his dad. And he became friends with an African-American boy whom, yes, his name was Sam, and he came forward with this guy, I think the second time we went to this home. Yeah, the second time we went there. And that was a really awesome experience, because their friendship developed when they were younger, because Sam's mother worked at a home not far from the home that we're speaking about.
And that's so amazing when kids do make those friendships, because at an early age you're so innocent and you don't have those perversions that adults have been trying to put into your life as far as hatred and racism, so on and so forth. So there are a lot of recollections of whites and blacks getting together, having friendships, really, really close friendships, because perhaps they were the only ones of their age group. But then it grows into something more, and that's where a lot of these boundaries are broken down, and it just, it makes my heart feel good. I'm so glad they were there for each other.
They, the way that the soldier predicted their friendship was, when he was still at home before he became a soldier, he would always go to the creek to cool off and stuff on a hot day after he'd been farming. And Sam would always be at the same creek fishing, because every time that Allisa sees Sam, he is so proud of those overalls that he has on. And he's always talking about fishing. And that's how we figured out that whenever the soldier would come down to swim, Sam would be there. They got to just kind of talking, and they became friends. So every day they would meet at this creek and would, play games or fish together, things of that nature. They play hide and seek a lot. But yeah, that's what they would do whenever, and the soldier's name is Ed. Whenever Ed would go down to the bank, they would play those games. And then whenever Ed decided to, whenever he got drafted to go off to war, in this particular time, Sam was younger than him, but he never had to join. And then Ed went and joined. And not far from this house and not far from the creek, the Trail of Tears, there used to be a large body of water that was a ferry system. You know, they would send stuff across the river and back across. And a huge battle actually happened at this ferry site, and that's where Ed had lost his life. There was a bombing there, and he died and stuck around. And then Sam, we're still working on, because Sam doesn't like to answer those hard questions. Ed will. But Sam hasn't told us exactly what happened to him, how he passed. So we don't know how old he was when he died, but he shows himself to Allisa as probably a 15, 16-year-old.
And maybe Sam is kind of afraid to communicate because he wasn't supposed to back in the day, so he doesn't think that's okay. Perhaps if you reiterate to him, it's okay, we're not here to punish or judge you. It's okay to talk to us. We're like, what is the other guy's name? Let him know that you're like his friend, and we're just here to help you, and perhaps you can help them both move on. Perhaps the other is not willing to move on without him. He's kind of waiting for his friend to come to the other side.
Right, and that's, we've tried to explain to Sam, you do understand that times have changed. I'm sure that you can see that from the realm that you're in right now. We're just here. We just want to talk. We want to know your story. So anything that you can give us, we would be grateful. And then we would go on and tell him, your buddy Ed has told us so much, and we're grateful for it. And he talks about your friendship and what you guys used to do. But all Sam will really, say, he'll always talk about his coveralls, and he'll talk about, the creek bed and how much he just loved fishing. And then just some small stuff here and there. He's not very forthcoming. We're hoping that the more that we go there and we try to gain his trust, the more that he'll open up about what happened to him.
Yeah, hopefully the more you guys visit, the more he'll come out. I'm hoping. And it's so cute that he's so proud of his coveralls. Maybe his mom worked really hard to make him those, or perhaps he earned them somehow, but it's cool that he's really proud of those.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I believe that they were actually bought, and the way that he talks about these, it's almost like his parents had saved up enough money to buy him his own sets. They weren't hand-me-downs because they weren't as torn and ratted like you would expect. So we feel like they were probably given to him as a gift, and he was so excited because he didn't have to wear hand-me-downs. These were his. They are his, and I get tickled when Alyssa's explaining it to me because she's like, he walks around like a peacock in these coveralls with his thumbs on either side of the little suspender part, and he's got his chest bowed out like, yep, these are mine. It's pretty awesome.
Do you think perhaps his friend bought those for him?
It could be, and that's one of those that we're hoping, like you said, the more that we go out there, we get those answers, because if Ed, did buy Sam those coveralls, then that's something that helps solidify that friendship so that we can understand it more. So there's more to it than you guys just hanging out by the creek bed. Like, Ed actually bought you those. That's awesome. What else did he buy you, or did you give him anything? Things of that nature.
Or Ed could have even taught him how to read or write and do different things like that. So that would be amazing as well.
Yes, absolutely. That's just some of the pieces of the puzzle that we are hoping eventually we'll be able to get.
So, is there another case that you guys have worked that you'd like to talk about? Which case were you guys working that was put in this biography?
With Chad and Alta?
Well, I know you guys didn't get to meet with Chad and Alta, which I'm sad about, but at the same time I'm like, good, maybe I can join when you guys do, because I'd love to meet you guys all at once, because you guys are like on my top tier of people I'd like to meet that I've met through this show. But I mean, what is the case that you were working that this documentary was made about?
So just kind of a background. As you know, but the viewers may not, Chad and Alta came to us via you. And as soon as we met these individuals, they have felt like family. Just as you are our sister from another mister. I am 100% solely convinced that Chad and Alta is me and Allisa in the future, because it's uncanny how similar that we are. Take Alta, the area that she was originally from, her gifts, and the way that she talks, the way that she dresses, the way that her mindset is 100% Allisa. And then with Chad's background and his family and the way that he talks and the way that he perceives himself is 100% me. You know, me and Chad are, and it's unlike tonight. I'm actually talking more tonight than I have on any other of your shows. But me and Chad are more of the chilled, back of the line kind of guys. We just kind of hang back and let our wives do the talking mostly. And, you know, whatever they say goes, and that's just how we are. But with them, it started out with they wanted help investigating their life, because since they've been together, with Alta, she's always had experiences with the paranormal since she was a little tiny tot. And when they got together in 1991, I believe, they say that they were brought together by some divine intervention. And if nobody's ever heard of this story, I urge you to please check it out. They do have a book that's called Abducted in the French Quarter. But the way that they met and the way that they started dating is completely bizarre, with these beings from another universe, and for lack of a better term, these aliens that seem to have orchestrated them getting together. So they wanted us to talk with them and document their past, but also meet them and help them investigate to figure out exactly what happened that night in 1997 on Valentine's Day when they were abducted in the French Quarter. And they lost their time. They've done some past life regression and got most of their memory back, but they're just trying to understand why. Why them? So we had set up to meet them at the end of June, but unfortunately Hurricane Barry came through. New Orleans was flooded, and they had to flee to Texas until the storm was over. So we had to cancel. But since then, the way that we're going to go about this is changed. Instead of us just meeting them and helping them investigate, I'm actually working on my very first screenwriting project. We originally were going to get, just kind of document them, maybe do a new book, or maybe just do something small like on YouTube, something like that, just to get their story out there. And the more that I talk to them and the more that I talk to our producers, and they told me what their long-term goal is, we came to the conclusion that the best way to have their stories solidified in this field and for the world to see far beyond after they have passed and us, we have passed, is to maybe get a series going or a movie going. So I got with my producers and I told them what I wanted to do and what I was interested in doing and seeing if it was possible. So I'm working on the very first chapter of screenwriting to send off to them to see if they would like to take on this project. So it's some really exciting stuff when it comes to Chad and Alta. And we're so grateful that we met them. And they agree with us, even if nothing goes as far or goes anywhere with this, book or movie or documentary. We're just so thankful to know them and to get to know them because it's been incredible thus far.
With them, there's a lot of parallels with them and with us, and it's crazy. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, that's about the only way to describe it. I have no, I mean, it's there's no denying it, I suppose. You know, it was, although it happened through you, you know, there's no denying that it was supposed to happen, us coming in contact with them. The parallels are insane. If I sat here and discussed them all, it would just, it's mind-blowing, because the dates, the names, the locations, so many things with them and with us and with our son. It's just insane. It's insane. The parallels, the time frames, the names, the maiden names, it's crazy. It is so crazy.
It is, and I often try to think back, and it was so long ago when I first had them on my show, and I was like, how did I even find them? I can't remember, but I know that we'd always refer to a sister from another mister, or a brother from another mother, but we always felt like we were related, and then come to find out she had Evans in her background as well, so we're like, hey, are we related? So I got to do some family tree stuff, but definitely I think there are circles, and through each life there are circles, and I do believe in reincarnation. I do believe in past lives, and I really didn't until my youngest daughter started telling me about her past life, and so I do believe that exists, and I'm so grateful for having them in my life and having you guys back in my life again, because I do believe in circles, and I do believe we come together the way we need to, because there's so much out there that we are trying to establish and trying to overcome, and together we can do it a bit better, I think.
I agree. And, you know, both of them fit into mine and Caden's family circles. It's crazy. It's just, it blew my mind with them, you know, like you said. And I too, I don't like, I will say that I believe in reincarnation. I know for myself and my personal experiences and what I've been blessed to see beyond what we are here, that it does exist, and that we all have different missions and things of that sort. And I've been blessed to be able to see certain things on several different occasions that solidified my beliefs in a lot of the things that I follow and the path that I walk. And that was a while back. And then meeting them and hearing and talking to them and thinking back and remembering things, it blew my mind how easily they landed in front of us, if that makes sense. You know, how it wasn't really a struggle. It just easily was delivered, you know, and you are the one that we have to thank for that. But it is, and it's crazy to think about how easy, if you don't fight it, how the universe kind of does that for you, you know?
Definitely, and for sure, like, I'm still racking my brain. How did I first come upon them? I think Alta may have found me. I think she's the one who found me, but I'll have to go back in my messenger and find out. But they're amazing, and it's crazy that you guys didn't get together because of Mother Nature tearing everything apart, and they had to move on, right?
They did. You know, the weekend that we had planned to drive down initially was when Hurricane Barry, you know, attacked where they're at pretty roughly, and they had to leave their home for that week. And so that didn't, you know, Caden talked about us receiving a lot of rain and stuff a few days after it hit New Orleans, and they were flooding out and they were having to leave, is when we received it. You know, about 2 or 3 days later, I think, is how long it took to get to Mississippi to where we're at from them. But the initial time and weekend that we had set aside and everybody had planned for months at a time to get down there, and then here came, you know, Hurricane Barry, and they had to leave their home and drive to Texas for a while, because where they were at was really low, and New Orleans was flooding really bad, and they had to leave because everything was flooding. So we've had to reschedule it, and, you know, they have lives just like we do, and so they're having to kind of work around life and schedules and so on and so forth. So it will happen very soon. I know it will. They know it will. It's inevitable. However, we're just going to have to push back and make it happen. You know, I don't want to wait. We had initially thought, okay, well, we're just put it aside and then we'll get down there before winter. But I can't wait that long. Like, I need to get down there as soon as possible.
It's like the sooner the better, right?
Yes. And you know, the plans and stuff that we had, that I'm not going to say we had an itinerary, but we were on like a time schedule because we only had like 2 full days there with them, and we had so much to cover while we were there and document so that we could come home and go over it and establish, you know, a baseline for how we're wanting to do this. And we just kind of got flung around because of Mother Nature. But it will happen, and hopefully it will happen sooner rather than later, because I cannot wait to get down there to them. I'm excited about that. That's going to be a big adventure for us. It's something out of what we normally do, and the way that we're approaching all of it is so different than anything else that we do, and the way that we're approaching it is much more different than how we approach anything else. And their story is amazing. And, you know, the things that they have experienced and gone through and survived are phenomenal. Not many people go through that and come out the other end of it where they're at, still intact with who they are and still intact with different things, I suppose, you know, with who they are inside and connected to their roots. And they came out, to me, that's one of the biggest things with them. They came out of all of those things, and they still have those things intact. They still are connected to their roots, and their soul is still the same. And it damaged them a little bit because they couldn't remember things, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, they came out the other end the same people, just altered a little bit, I suppose, because of the things that they experienced.
Well, yeah, they wrote the book, or abducted, and then just recently there was another abduction, which is insane, and you try not to feel like the victim because of what has happened to you, but like you said, you have that missing space and time, and it makes you feel incomplete, and so you're trying to search for that time that's missing. What happened? Where did I go? What did I do? And that brings me to past life regression. Have either one of you guys tried that?
Not personally, we have not. I know that is something that Allisa has been trying to work on to see if that's something that she is able to do, because although they have went to other individuals to get some past life regressions done, they want somebody that they trust and that they know to conduct more to see if they can remember anything else or more details about it. But at this time, I've never had a past life regression done on me. Allisa never has, and I don't believe Carmen has either.
No, I have not.
I was offered, during the beginning of doing this show, I started on Psychic Sundays, and I had this lady on that did past life regressions, and she was probably maybe 40 miles or 40 minutes away from me, and she's like, I'll do one for you for free, and she offered to do it over the phone, which I wasn't comfortable with. I wanted to do it in person, but each time I go down there, I get so busy I'm not able to see her. I want to do it, but at the same time, I'm really afraid of her walking through my head, knocking over, my china or whatever else is in there, and messing things up. I don't trust people enough to walk in my head, and what are they going to do? Because I think there is damage that can be done, but at the same time, I think there's a revelation of things that you don't remember due to your own protective bias as far as trying to protect yourself, as well as things that are kept from you that others, aka aliens, don't want you to know.
Right. And, Allisa just pointed something out. I have tried, it wasn't really a past life regression, but I went to a hypnosis to try to remember something from my past quite a few years ago. And I paid a crap ton of money to this lady. To me, it was a lot of money. And, I mean, it was an epic fail. I mean, nothing happened. Nothing worked. I mean, she, bless her heart, she tried. But it would not work. And, you know, I kind of left it at that. And since then, I've never tried, like, with a medium. Like I said, I tried with that hypnotherapist, but, you know, I just figured that, kind of like you said, maybe it's something that I'm not supposed to remember for a reason. I think Allisa had a question.
I do. So I was listening to what you were saying, you know, about you not trusting, you know, because somebody just walking through your head. So if you had someone who told you that instead of actually doing walking through everything, if they could take you to a place where you could consciously choose to do it yourself, would you do that more so than you think you would, like, allowing someone to do it for you? I hope that question makes sense, Tessa, and you understand what I'm asking.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. I think I would trust that more if somebody was there guiding me to subconsciously get into these places instead of somebody going and stumbling through my mind. I think I would trust that a bit more than this lady I just met and had on my show. And I loved her light and her energy and everything. I'm not saying that I didn't trust her, but trusting someone other than myself in my head, I am just not comfortable with. But on that note, we do have to go to our second break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these messages.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, Tessa. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio listeners, it's Dave Scott. I want you to check out a great documentary I'm involved in called Beyond the Spectrum, Mosson's UFO Files. Directed by Darcy Weir, the film follows Jaime Mosson's journey for mainstream journalistic truth in ufology in Mexico. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon Prime. If you're a member, watch it free. It's worth the watch. Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology: Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, Use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose beard oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Sit back, relax, grab a drink, and listen closely. Spaced Out Radio continues through the weekend. From the mile-high mountains of Colorado to you, listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Weekend with Tessa Nicole Thomas.
And we're back. Thanks so much for listening in with us tonight. We are joined by Southern Ascension Paranormal with Alissa, Caden, and Carmen. Welcome back, you guys.
Thank you so much.
So we
just want to thank you for having us on.
Well, thanks again for putting up with my shenanigans.
We love your shenanigans. We love it.
Well, I love your shenanigans too. So, as we were talking on break about what we're going to talk about next, we were talking about this particular circumstance where it was Carmen's birthday. and some amazing things happened. Can you guys paint a picture for us? Let us know what happened.
Well, Caden, you can tell them about the beginning of it.
I'll tell you about the beginning of it, and then I'm going to turn it over to Carmen because that is a situation that's near and dear to her. But we just got done investigating at the beginning of, or the middle of July. I had reached out to this business. It's called the Princess Theater. Now it is a bar/club restaurant about 2 hours away from us. And we've always heard the rumors that it was haunted. And we had a couple of individuals that worked there reach out to us and tell us about their experiences that they had. And I reached out to the owner, and he was completely thrilled. He's like, absolutely, whenever you want to come, just y'all come on and investigate. You can, in his words, come get possessed by our ghosts. I was like, okay, dude, we'll do that. And then before we went, we actually brought on Carmen as our case manager, and I was like, look, this is when we're going. Do you want to go? And it just so happened to be her birthday, so I was like, well, this is your birthday present from us, and I'm going to turn it over to Carmen, and she can tell you what she experienced and what we came across while we was there.
Well, I'll just tell you, when we walked in, when we drove up, you just have to understand this little small town is just absolutely beautiful. It's like downtown area of this, and the architecture and everything, just absolutely gorgeous. And after the place closed, it's very late at night. It's like 1:32 a.m. We had to wait on everybody to leave except for the employees. They were finishing up their end of the night things, and the owner's sitting there in the corner doing his end of the night paperwork and what have you. And like Caden said, he's talking about, you want to come on in and get possessed by our demons. He kept saying demons, and I think Allisa and Caden both will tell you that's not a word that we like to use because so many people just throw it around randomly. But we came on in, set everything up, and like he said, this was my first time, and it was my first time seeing some of the equipment, and I was just thrilled. I was so thrilled. There was absolutely no negative energy in that building. We walked in, and the architecture of that building was beautiful. A lot of the renovations that have been done in the past are kind of sad, and the new owner is trying to bring it back to the glory it was. But we came on in, and the further you went into the building, the more you could feel the energy. When you walk through the little bar area, and then you walk through these big double doors and a little hallway, and then you walk into the actual, what was the theater. This building was built in the early 1900s, and it was originally a stage theater where they did stage productions. In fact, in the basement, in the very back of the basement, they had can lights that were original to the stage, and that was so cool to see. But when we walked in there, maybe 20 feet in, you take the first step down, and the energy was just amazing. The hair on my arm stood up. I had goosebumps. I told Allisa, I said, look at this. I said, you cannot fake this. It wasn't cold in that building. It was just comfortable temperature. And we had already talked to a couple of the employees, one girl in particular who actually, he experienced more paranormal than anybody else there, because she was there later than a lot of people. She did a lot of the closing things, and she decided, well, she asked about, is it okay I can stay on with you guys and I can show you where I experienced this or that? And then another employee said, I would like to as well. And Kate and Allisa were just like, great, It was nice to have like a guide through the place. So they stayed on, and we did some experiments here, there, and around the place. And there is a basement there, and there was a good laugh about Caden and his basement phobia, and that he has gotten over. But we weren't getting just a whole lot there in the beginning, except for just energy. You could feel the energy. But as the night went on, through some of the equipment and just through some sensory deprivation, that we did get to, a little bit of verification that there was some entity there. Nothing malevolent at all. No quote-unquote demons at all. Just very easygoing. And the young lady that had stayed on with us, she asked about some of the equipment, and she and Allisa had actually went up into the balcony, and when this young lady started to kind of talk with or try to communicate with the entities or what have you, there was a whole lot more activity. They were very receptive to her. And I put a lot of that to, we were all new to the building and to the area. Maybe they were just not used to us. Maybe they needed to get a little more comfortable with us. And as the night progressed, this all went on, and up until about 6:30 a.m., it was just, there was more of a comfort level throughout the night. It just kind of built upon itself. But we did a flashlight session, sensory deprivation session. We used the K2 meter, just all over this building, in the basement, behind the stage, in the actual theater, in the balcony, and there was actually more activity in the balcony than anywhere else in the building. So it was really cool for me to see. It was awesome for me to feel that energy for the first time in a long time, because I haven't been anywhere where there was activity for a while, since I had left the hospital. But it was awesome. And actually, after we left there, we had heard, I guess you could say it was kind of a folk legend about a local cemetery. Supposedly, there was a statue of an angel that you could walk up to, and if you held its hand, it felt like flesh, and it was supposed to be warm, like a touching a human, and supposedly you could see it crying. This cemetery, it was. I am partial to cemeteries. I find the architecture of very old monuments beautiful. I love looking at very old, dated monuments and seeing how different things have changed over the years. But that cemetery was a very old cemetery, and it was huge. It had actual street signs on the actual path through it. And we checked out every angel statue in that cemetery, and not one of them held up to that legend. So we kind of debunked that one. But the Princess Theater was, it was amazing for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I cannot wait to go on my next investigation.
That's super awesome. Caden or Alissa, can you fill in on this same investigation? Paint a picture for us listeners?
It was our first of what I hope to be many in that location. Let me say that. Like Caden, I don't know if he said it live. I'm not sure. But I think he had told you, we were the first team to get back in this place for, what was like 13 years. And first off, if you can image a old downtown historic theater, like literally just old downtown historic theater, this is the most picturesque. Oh, it's just gorgeous. It's just, if you've ever watched The Great Gatsby, that's what the inside of this place would remind you of. It's stunningly beautiful, and there's so much in there that is still unique to its original build, which made it even more beautiful. Things that are untouched and untethered and have, standed through time, a very, very long time. And many of the rooms in this place held, for me, it was like walking in and I could see these parties and these events that had been held in this building. And the beautiful life energy that was in that area. And for the time frame would have been during the war. And it was almost like this place was the breath of fresh air for that town. It was the place where people could go and forget for just a little bit about all of the bad things happening outside of those doors. And it was just the energy and the things that I could see and I could hear and feel were amazing there. So I'm kind of hoping that can give you a little bit of an image of it. It really was a beautiful place, and where it stands in this town, and anybody that does any research, you can research Columbus, Mississippi, and it was a very prominent town for soldiers, and it was a hospital town for wounded soldiers. And like I said, this place, it's almost like it was a little beacon of hope during that rough time in the South. And there's not a lot of history on this one particular place, but it's because this place was not anything pertaining to the war that was going on in the South at that time. And like I said, it was like a little beacon of hope for people to go in and kind of forget about what was going on outside of those doors and how bad it was at that time. It was just a beautiful place. The energy in that place, and staying outside on the sidewalk, you could just feel it, and it was amazing. It's a beautiful place, and we really are looking forward to going back really soon and diving into it even deeper and seeing what all we can get and find out.
Caden, any input from you?
Yeah, so when this place came up, everybody that knows me knows the first thing I do is I'm going to research everything that I can. And like Allisa stated, there is hardly any articles out there on it except for modern times. So I'm in my modern, like 2000s and up. And unfortunately, it's worked around tragedies, except for whenever the new owner that owns it now, whenever he bought it. But if you keep digging and keep digging, the one thing that I did find interesting is, like they stated, this place started out as it was a live music venue or a live play venue. That's where they went. I actually found an article from the 1940s, I believe, or 1950s, where it was transformed when motion pictures first started becoming popular, where they had installed the electricity and the projector and stuff to start showing these motion pictures. And the pictures that are in this article, it's like if you go to the Princess Theater now and you're looking from the same angle, it's like you stepped into a time warp. Literally, everything is original in that little venue part, the stage part. It's the same benches, and it's the same floor. It's the same walls. The wood that the stage still has. That's all original from when this place was built. And I don't know. I mean, other than what Allisa and Carmen said, when you walk in, it's like you can still feel that energy residing inside of it. You feel like there should be this great party and everybody walking around in their Sunday best, listening to a play or listening to a live concert. And when you do go backstage, like they mentioned, it's all the original workings of it during that time. I mean, between the levers, the catwalk that's above, the curtains, everything about it is 100% authentic, has never been removed. No, it doesn't work anymore, but they kept it there just to showcase, and it's absolutely amazing to see. And when you go down to the basement area, still, the rooms are still intact where these actors and actresses would go and change or get ready for the play or get ready for the concert. So it was completely insane. And they kept, there's one little seat that they kept, and it's been signed by somebody in this place was built in 1929 or 1919. I can't remember. I remember it was 19-something-9. But when it was originally built, they took one of those seats and had, I believe it was one of the first people to perform there sign it, and they have it on display. And to me, that was completely awesome.
It's totally awesome, and for you guys to be able to go in there and investigate, what sort of spirits or whatnot did you guys pick up on?
There was actually it was very quiet, except for whenever, two of the bartenders stayed to investigate with us. And like Carmen said, the girl that was there, she worked late at nights mostly, and all the activities surrounded her. So when she stayed, we did some experiments with her. And it turns out that 2 spirits came through, and both of them were previous barbacks in their time. And we had asked them, they didn't give us a name, or they did give us a name, but I can't remember what it is. We have it wrote down.
We have it on our page.
We have it on our page, but these 2 individuals, we asked them, why are you here? Like, are you mad about the music that they play? Are you mad about the style? What's going on? Why are you here? And they were just there because they missed being bartenders. They enjoyed watching them work. They enjoyed watching them mix the drinks. They enjoyed the party. And some of the folklore, and we actually talked to security, and we talked to some of the other barbacks, and one of the most talked about paranormal activities, is if you're on the stage or on the dance floor and you look up in the balcony, which during opening hours, they block it off so nobody can go up there. If you look up there, you will actually see 1 or 2 shadow people standing there watching you. So a lot of our evidence is based on top of the balcony. And it turned out to be these 2 gentlemen. I'm not going to give out her name, but they loved her style. They basically said that she was very eager to learn, and she had a great personality, and they just enjoyed watching her work. So hearing that and hearing that they're not there to harm her made her feel better, because although she is a paranormal enthusiast, it was unsettling because she wasn't sure if they were mad or if they were okay. So to hear that they were okay with her and they were actually there to just watch and to keep her safe from anybody harming her made her feel better. And it also was a great connection to see them interacting with her and them interacting with the other bartender that stayed back as well.
I kind of understand how that goes. I used to work as a bartender, before that a waitress, and I really do miss it, working as a bartender. When I was a kid, I used to go to the bar with my dad and dance on his feet, so on and so forth, after my mom passed, and she was killed by a drunk driver. But he took it so hard, he drank a lot, and so that's a lot of the time we would spend was in the bars. But to be in that atmosphere, it really is full of a lot of energy and a lot of different things going on. And I do really miss being a bartender, so I could see somebody who's passing thinking about their favorite time in life is interacting with these different people. So that's pretty interesting that they'd stick around and harass people. There was a bar that I went to while I was in California. My nephew, he's like 60 years old. My 60-year-old nephew, he was playing in the bar that night, and it was actually on a paranormal show, and I got to go upstairs and poke around. I didn't have any of my equipment except for my cell phone with my apps on there, and I ran into 3 different ghosts up there. I think it was the Pine something Saloon. Pine Street Saloon? I think it was Pine Street Saloon in California. But that was so interesting, like the different pictures I had and such, and I have to share that. I'm still late on sharing my pictures, but it's amazing the different energies that hang out. And I was talking to a couple down in the bar, and they're like, hey, we had experiences here. We've seen orbs fly and knock these shot glasses off. We've seen orbs fly and do this and this and that and that. And they're like, look at the monitor right now. You could see these orbs flying around. And I was looking and I was like, holy shnikes. Like, this place was so active upstairs and downstairs. So it was pretty amazing what was going on there and the energy that hangs on there and people that do want to hang out in these certain places. And a lot of people wonder, why are people still here? People think that Judgment Day happens for each individual individually, but I think there is one inherent Judgment Day. So until that day comes, we're all kind of either sitting and waiting in a waiting room or deciding to stay back and take care of our loved ones or hang out in places that we like to hang out in, or going and learning in Spirit Prison, like different things that you didn't know in this world as far as things that you're supposed to know. I don't know, there's different variations.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You know, everybody has their own theory and their own views on what the afterlife actually is. And, you know, everybody can say that, you know, Spirit has told them this or that they have seen that. But to me, it's just one of those that you can't, you're not going to be, basically, you're not going to be able to, we're not going to be able to prove it until we ourselves die. And then it's going to be a headache trying to find somebody to talk to and let them know, hey, this is what it's really like. And that's what I told Allisa, if I ever go first, that my secret word is tacos. That way anybody knows that it's me. And I will try to let her know what's going on, you know, what it's like on the other side. But yeah, with
my
the
secret word is margaritas.
you know, with the two barbacks, you know, we had made some jokes, and they were using the flashlight in the K2, and then also Allisa, and we had, you know, told them we were making jokes, and they were responding back to us, and we're like, you know, do you wish that she could hear you in real time instead of just see you, so that you can show her some tricks of the trade?
What was it, a Shirley Temple that they were talking
Yeah,
about?
they're talking about her. She needs to learn how to make a Shirley Temple, or she needs to perfect the Shirley Temple. And our flashlights and K2s just started like going crazy. It was amazing to see that we were all 5 of us were sitting there and having that type of discussion with these 2 past barbacks, and they were cracking jokes right back with us.
I would say the Roy Rogers, because I know when I was at the bar sitting there as a kid, which you can't anymore today. Kids can't sit at the bar, but we used to sit at the bar as my dad was being a bouncer, and I'd order the Roy Rogers, the Coke with the cherry and the cherries in it, and my brother would order the Shirley Temple. But Mooney was asking, Allisa, as you are speaking of past investigations and remembering back, are you getting any psychic visions or impressions from the people in the audience tonight?
I commented back to him and told him, and Caden, Caden can verify it, I guess. I was having like really, really bad pain on the right side of my back earlier, and I was like, what the heck? Because I was fine, and at first I thought it might have been how I was sitting, and then I was like, well, no, that's not where it's coming from. But I didn't know where it was coming from, and he actually commented back to me and said that he thought it was coming from him, because I kind of pictured to them in chat, where it was and what it was feeling like. But other than that, no, I try to close myself down a little bit before we do things like this, because if I don't, then I start picking up on energies, much like I do when I do readings and multiple people join in. So I just kind of have to turn my dial down a little bit so I don't start picking up on everybody's stuff, or I would be an emotional wreck the whole time we were trying to do this.
Yeah, it can get pretty confusing as well as encumbering, all the weight that you can pick up from the chat room, because we do know and love so many people in there. But for sure, you got to kind of dial it back. And my husband makes jokes quite often. Oh, I got to dial the charisma back to at least a level 3 because I'm at a 10 plus. And I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah.
You're all that and a bag of potato chips.
Okay. I enjoy when we get to come on here and we get to talk, and the environment with this show to me is amazing. It's a very safe place to communicate about different things in this field and learn, and you get to be around different opinions and discuss things in a safe environment. And to me, that's rare in this field nowadays, sadly. So I enjoy it. I love it. And, like I said, I try to kind of dial myself down a little bit when we're just doing, just this show, because I don't want to be picking up on everybody's stuff and then be super confused and rambling, and because we all know that I do that frequently.
Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet till you come to the after party. But yeah.
I have been there.
It's like, wait, let me speak. I have something to say.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Hold on. Need an air horn.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me put my info in it.
Yes.
Yeah, it can be quite difficult. Okay, so we have less than 30 minutes left for the show. What have we missed that we really, really need to talk about tonight? I must know.
I really don't know.
Well, I've seen you guys on your lives and talking about ways that we can protect ourselves during or before paranormal investigations and aftermaths, or living in the presence of psychic, aka ghosty attacks. So can you tell us how you guys ground yourselves, protect yourselves before you go on investigations in your own house where things are trying to get you? Can you tell myself and our listeners what we need to know to protect ourselves and shield ourselves and ways of grounding?
Yeah. Allisa, and then I can let Carmen answer for her. But with me and Allisa, because of our belief system, we're spiritual in nature. We believe in everything, really, just to put it in layman's terms. What we do before an investigation is we both ground ourselves, which with Allisa, she goes outside and she'll meditate. Usually you'll find her either standing on the grass barefooted, or sitting on the grass barefooted, or sitting up against a tree and just meditating and getting her mind completely cleared and getting her, I guess you can say, her inner chi peaceful. And I do the same thing, just with a little twist. I ground as well. I walk around and just clear my mind of anything that is in my real life, just so that I am mentally and physically prepared for any type of psychological attacks or physical attacks with the location that we're going. We both are avid users in crystals. My crystal that I always wear is a tiger's eye. I have a necklace that has it on it. Allisa has multiple. She'll have jasper on. She'll have labradorite, quartz, rose quartz, pocket fulls of stones. I mean, she's just loaded down with them. I'm a simple guy, so I keep it pretty simple. I just got the one, and my 7-day salt that I have on me. But before an investigation, that's pretty much what we do. We don't necessarily pray before we do an investigation. Instead, we just ask for guidance, and if anything was to start going wrong, for them to give us strength to be able to tackle it and to stay safe and to keep everybody safe as well. And then when it comes to the aftermath, if, like with the Monroe house, if we go somewhere that's to that magnitude, or like the Arkansas case, afterwards we'll reground again. We will verbally, say our good vibes, chants, prayer, whatever you want to call it, and then smudge ourselves with the Palo Santo or sage stick and cleanse ourselves there, and then cleanse our vehicle as well before we leave. And then once we get home, we always clean our crystals. I normally take all of our crystals and I'll mix a little concoction of my 7-day salt, spring water, and I may throw a little bit of herbs here and there and just let them sit for a couple of hours, or even overnight if there's not a full moon or a new moon coming up. And then Carmen is actually getting to know herself. So as she's coming along to investigations, she's starting to learn what works for her and her faith system. And I'll kind of let her explain that.
Well, as for me, I am actually a Christian, but I am a very open-minded Christian. As far as what I do before, like what I did before that investigation, what I actually do quite a lot in my life now, I do go outside. I'm a lot like Allisa. I do my grounding barefoot. I have a specific place on our property that is just very quiet and calming to me. Most of the time, I'm sitting right out in the middle of the yard. I want to feel the air, the sunshine, all of that. I clear my mind. I do pray, but I also meditate. I have a very old tiger's eye as well that was my great-grandmother's, and I wear it daily. I have lots of herbs that I keep around me for safety's sake, for protection. I grow a lot of herbs, things like that, and that's just what I do. I keep my mind as clear as I absolutely can, and make sure that I'm in the right headspace to do what we're doing.
Caden kind of covered mine. I don't have a self-proclaimed religion of any sort. I believe in all things. I believe all things are possible. I believe in all things magical and all things light and bright, and I know things are real beyond that. Like Caden said, you'll find me pretty much wandering around like a lost little bird outside somewhere. And I have what I call my guides and my masters and things. And I just humbly ask them to be with me and prepare me and guide me to do what I'm there to do, protect me if it's needed, so on and so forth. But I place all of my faith and so far they have guided me and led me on my path, and it's been an adventure, and I've been safe, and my family's been safe, and I have my faith in those things, and that's what works for me, I suppose.
Sharon in the chat room was wondering, what do you guys think about crossing over spirits, and do you think it's okay for investigators to cross spirits over regardless if they want to go or not?
I don't want to anger anyone, but this might possibly do that. So before I answer that, I want to just say, this is my opinion based on what I have seen, what I have experienced, and what I've been blessed to be able to see and do. I firmly believe that spirits have free will just as humans do. Based on the communication that I have been able to have with some what I call chatty Cathy spirits, I have asked. I spoke earlier about asking questions that you usually don't get to ask. And I had one particular spirit, and it was he actually came to me at one of our friends' houses, and I asked him, did you immediately cross over? How did this happen? What did you see? Things like that. Things that you usually don't get to ask. And we received very intelligent responses from this man, and him telling us, as soon as he passed away, he, what we call, crossed over. However, he had the free will to watch what happens and see what happens. He told us about them picking his body up and putting it in a vehicle and taking it to a morgue, and the things that he'd done and what his family's seen and so on and so forth. It was freaking amazing. And in my opinion, there are guidelines per se to what most people refer to as crossing over. I don't believe that a spirit is trapped necessarily. That they may believe that they are, because they do not understand that they have the free will to go to what we believe is heaven or the other, or whatever you want to call that. I just call it the other because it's a beautiful place that's peaceful and there's no time, so on and so forth. But whatever religion or path you're on is what you would call it. I do believe that anything that has a soul, when it passes, has the ability to immediately go there. And most of them, I do believe, realize really quickly that they can leave and come here and visit when they feel as if it's needed or they want to, and they have the ability to go back. However, there are times where children are just kind of aimlessly roaming around somewhere that's familiar to them, and they seem as if they're lost and they need to get back and they don't know how. And I have came across that several times, and it was a very emotional experience because they were scared. And I visually have had to use a flashlight for visual purposes. So to answer that question in short terms and not ramble, I don't think that it's a good idea for someone to do it if they have no idea what they're doing. If it's something that you think you're going to come across as a paranormal investigator, I would say to reach out to someone you believe has some experience in that and learn a little bit about it and what you're actually doing before you attempt it.
I really want to add to that a little bit. I have heard in recent times several people comment on psychics, mediums, whatever you want to call them, how they a lot of times they always have a child spirit come through, and so that makes other people a skeptic because it's never an adult. It's always a child spirit. But what Allisa just said, there's reasoning behind that. The reason why there's more children that come through to mediums, it's because they're a little lost. They don't know their way back. So you find more children spirits a lot of times because of that. And it's not because a psychic is fake or medium is fake and they're just telling people that. That is absolutely not the reason. It's because it's true. That's who's coming through. That's whose energy you're feeling or who is speaking to you, because they don't know their way back to where they need to be or want to be.
And it can be a dangerous situation trying to cross spirits over because there are so many beliefs and such out there. And I think a lot of spirits are trapped here due to their certain beliefs that they've learned in this life on Earth. And I've heard the thing, you're judged on what you believe, and a lot of people don't even get the education that we do spiritually. So it's hard to know where to start from there, and that's where the investigation comes in. You have to get to know the spirit. What's their name? What's their religious preference? And go from there to help them out. We had a spirit, Kate Johnson. Turns out she was Catholic, even though she was a soiled dove, aka a prostitute in the late 1800s. She believed that if she killed herself, she would be stuck in purgatory, which she was on this train car in the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad. And she was able to be freed for 3 months, but due to free agency, she came back and helped Emmy, because Emmy was being bullied and subjected to torture by this other spirit known as the Brakeman. So there's so many different things in religion that are very cool, some other things that are not so cool, but it's hard to know which stepping stone you take to get there unless this particular spirit shares their information.
Right. And, it's like the whole bully situation. Let me reiterate that. When I say trapped, I think you might have understood what I was saying, because we have actually been live, and I think you've seen a few of them where there are what we call bullies who are holding these spirits kind of hostage. It's like they're counting their numbers up for something. And you have to, that, like you said, that's kind of when the investigation part kind of really kicks in hardcore, because you have to take these spirits one by one and explain to them and show them that you can help them and they can be, let go, per se.
Yeah, it can be very complicated. The next spirit we're trying to help at that place was Emmy, who is a little girl, and I have a picture. I don't know if I shared it with you guys, Caden and Allisa, but you can see Kate in the background, and she's trying to run and get out of the picture, and Emmy is just sitting there staring at the game camera, and it looks like a real person. Her eyes are glowing as far as the flash that flashes off your eyes, and she's got this white dress on, and she's got this embellishment on her head of little crystals, and Kate has the same outfit on. But we tried to communicate with Emmy when Kate was gone, but the brakeman would come in and cuss like a sailor, and run her off. But then once Kate came back, we were able to communicate again, but we've been so busy with certain cases in particular homes trying to help individuals that we haven't got back there yet. But we're looking forward to being able to solve that case and move Emmy on to her family.
All right. No, you haven't. I don't believe we have seen that picture. That'd be awesome. You should send it to us.
As soon as the show is over, because I am on Periscope on my phone, I will definitely send that to you. But yeah, it's the most amazing picture I've ever seen as far as entities.
Right.
It's amazing. I'm mind blown over this picture, but for sure. Have you guys run into any case like that where spirits are trying to work together, or other spirits are trying to work against another spirit to keep it from moving on?
Yes, and the perfect example of that would be going back to the Monroe house. We've talked about that house on numerous occasions, but that location is literally good versus evil. You have something there that acts more or less as a soul collector. It bullies these other spirits it manipulates them into thinking that they do not have free will, that they have to do exactly what it says or else, basically. And it goes back to your belief systems. Some people, when they die, they believe that they're going to purgatory, that they're going to hell, and they create their own hell nonetheless, or their own purgatory nonetheless. And when it comes to these entities or these spirits that want to bully these other ones to stay with them, we have came across that on more than one occasion. And what it turns into is it's just like regular humans. They bully people because they are so unhappy with their life. Well, more times than not, these spirits bully other ones because they are terrified of being alone. Or like the case of the Native American that we dealt with, they are being punished, so they are giving that title of, in layman's terms, a soul collector, and they have to keep these spirits, these other spirits, contained into this house in order to conduct enough energy for whatever purpose that is. So when we go in, we have to remind them, no, you have free will. You do not have to listen to this individual. If you want to leave here, you can walk out right now and leave. If you need us, if you need us to hold your hand while you do that, we can. But you do not have to stay here. And a lot of times it ends up being these spirits that died a very tragic death, or these child spirits, just like with living children, when they get across from an adult, they're very manipulative. So if an adult tells them to go run in traffic or else they're going to get in trouble, they may be crying, but they're going to do it because they feel like they do not have a choice. And it's the same sense in the spiritual realm as well. These child spirits are these spirits that have passed and had a very rough living, as far as they lived a very abusive style life, or verbally abusive style life, or whatever their life was. They feel hopeless. They feel like they deserve to be in the situation that they're in. They feel like that is their hell, and that's where they have to go, that they don't have control over that. So when we step in and come across a situation like that, it's kind of like us giving them their voice, giving them their power to stick up for themselves and to leave that situation. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's just up to them. They have complete free will, so it's up to them if they want to take our help and leave, or if they're just so distraught and they feel like that's what they deserve. Sometimes they choose to stay.
So in our last 6 minutes of this show, how can you let our listeners know if they decide to go to a graveyard or to a haunted house or wherever, even in their own house, what is a good way for them to protect themselves?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is it's never, in our opinion, I'm never going to tell anybody what to do and what not to do, but in our opinion, it's best not to conduct an investigation in your home unless you are experienced, because too much can go wrong. But if they would like to go anywhere to investigate, first things first is, if they are religious, they need to ask guidance from them to keep them safe and to watch over them as they do whatever they're going to do. If they're more spiritual, it never hurts to have some healing crystals and protective crystals as well, or herbs, like sage. You always hear us talk about Palo Santo. To me, it's paranormal etiquette to have those cleansing rituals to do before and to do after. And always remember, the golden rule: never provoke and never try to pick off a spirit just for your personal gain, because it will backfire and you could seriously be harmed.
Allisa, did you have anything to add to that?
Not really. I mean, Caden kind of hit all of it right there in that. I think, like he said, if you're not experienced and you're not knowledgeable, and I will say this, no, there is no way to just you can't gain experience without doing something, but if experience is what you're wanting to gain so that you can do this, you can do what you're speaking about doing, just going out and doing your own thing. Hang out with a few people who have been doing it for a little while and kind of observe, get you a notebook, write some stuff down.
Listen to Spaced Out Radio.
Right, or listen to SOAR, listen to Spaced Out Radio. You can learn a lot there too. But other than that, no, not really. I mean, I'm not going to say that somebody shouldn't go out and get experience, because I do wholeheartedly believe that you should. But in order to do that, like I said, I think you should wait until you have learned how to properly do things so that you're safe and you're not harmed, you're not opening doors up for things to follow you, so on and so forth.
And what about you? Contestant number 3. I'm just kidding.
What?
Carmen.
I'm just going to say that Alissa and Caden have really hit it all. I am still very inexperienced, and there are investigations that they may go on that I know that I am not experienced enough to protect myself, and so I won't go, and I'm not going to ask to go. I'm not one of those people that's just going to put myself in a place where I could possibly be harmed because of my ignorance. And I would hate for anyone else to do that. And I feel like that if you want to investigate or check out a truly haunted house, not one of these, places that people dress up, but if you want to go and check something like that out, go with someone who has experience. Make sure that they have taught you things to do to protect yourself before you go, and taught you how to cleanse yourself after you've been there. It's not something that an experienced or inexperienced person should step into, because like Caden said, that you could open up something that you don't know how to deal with or can't close. It's like playing with a Ouija board. You can open up a portal, but if you don't know how to close it, you have it's opening a Pandora's box. And the same thing can happen at any haunted house or place or whatever, wherever you are.
It's so true, and when I go on cleansings, I use sage, Palo Santo, sweetgrass, so on and so forth. But tourmaline, selenite, those are the two main things I carry. One to detract the dark, and one to bring in the light. Those are two main things that I like to use. Palo Santo, one of my favorites. Not only do I sage, but afterwards I go around all the windows and doors with Palo Santo, and that's what I cleanse with. And then with native things, there's certain things you can do. Sweetgrass, tobacco, which a lot of natives think that we abuse tobacco because we smoke on a regular basis instead of just using it for certain ceremonies. But tobacco, sage, and you can even put out fruits and such. I had a native girl tell me that her mom put out fruits and she didn't realize what was going on because it didn't disappear, but all of a sudden she tasted it and it was gone. But we are at the end of our show, you guys. Would you like to let our listeners know your websites, how to find you, and how to see your progress as a team?
Absolutely. So you guys can check us out on Facebook at SouthernAscensionParanormal.com. You can also, we have Instagram, or you can reach us by email at SouthernAscensionPara@gmail.com. Our phone number is posted on all those sites, so my phone is on 24/7. I tell everybody, if you don't get me the first go around, keep calling, I will answer.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, you guys. Caden, Allisa, and Carmen for joining us at Spaced Out Radio. It was so wonderful having you on the show this evening. I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much for having us. As always, it is a pleasure, and we're completely honored that you allow us to come on here and speak. We're forever grateful.
Well, don't think I ain't going to have you back again, because I will. All right, I love you guys. Nighty night, love and light, and I'm so grateful to have you this evening. Thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge.
Absolutely. Thanks again for having us. We love you more.
And thank you so much to everyone on Spaced Out Radio, Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Periscope, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live, and wherever else you may be listening in the universe tonight. I had a wonderful time this evening, and it was my pleasure, literally and figuratively, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow night for Spaced Out Sunday with Mia Savage and Catherine Savage, mom and daughter mediums duo. And that'll be Psychic Sunday at spacedoutradio.com. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you back here tomorrow night. Don't forget, we are all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better, and together, my friends, we own the night. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light to all my space cases out there. If you would like to join us for the SOR Asylum Spaced Out Radio After Party, feel free to join us at 1-970-335-9596 or look me up at Tessa N. Thomas-Peterson on Skype.